Hello, dear all. Good evening. It's so great to see all of you joining EWB Thursday webinars. I know this is the holiday season and everyone is so excited to celebrate, so many great holidays across the world, including Christmas, including, yes, New Year, and the whole season is full of celebration, and using this moment, we would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and all the best to all of you in the coming year. And as we are approaching the holiday, yes, as we are approaching these celebrations, we are also excited to welcome our speakers to Thursday webinars. And today we are so excited to welcome to EWB Thursday webinar uh, Mitchell Bradford Jr., who is going to deliver a webinar titled AI for Teachers, Classroom Tools and Ethical Considerations. And for those of you who doesn't know about our speaker, I would like to mention them that Mitchell R. Bradford Jr. is currently an English language fellow for the U.S. Department of State English Language Program and is based in Hangzhou Normal University in China, where he teaches academic writing, trains staff, teaches PE courses, and coaches football. Hailing from Arkansas, southern USA, he holds degrees in foreign languages and TESOL, University of Nottingham, Ningbo, China, along with a Delta. Mitchell has taught in the US, Guatemala, and China from kindergarten to university levels. He also helps with teacher training courses held by the regional English at the US Embassy in Beijing, in China, and around Asia. Mitchell has published and presented research internationally about EAP, virtual education, and intercultural communication in English and Spanish. He is partaking in TESOL doctoral studies at the University of St. Andrews and exploring the challenges of EAP teachers and students at Sino foreign institutions and teacher professional development. And Mitchell has been also uh, recognized as EWB honor member for his ongoing support and contribution in the development of EWB network in Tajikistan. And with great pleasure, I'm giving the floor to our speaker today. So please use this chance to learn from our speaker and also ask questions about his extensive teaching experience and also about his topic today. So over to you, Mitchell. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks so much, Nasiba. How are you guys doing? I see some
Doing
folks
well,
like,
thank you.
yeah, cool, man. This is my last one for the year. I think I've been doing this. I think this is my seventh one this year with EWP. I've signed up for some next year. I need to come up with more topics because I ran through all my topics for this year. But cool. So let's look at what we're doing today, y'all. So we're looking at AI for teachers, tools and ethics. My name is Mitchell. I came in a little bit late. I was trying to get the kids out because kids are screaming and running around. They still are screaming and running around. But cool. So a bit about me. Nasiba already talked to me about me a bit, but might as well do it again. So I'm from New Amber, Arkansas, down here in the south of the U.S. I'm an English language fellow, so I do work mostly with the regional English language office in Beijing. They will send me sometimes to Mongolia or Thailand to do stuff like that. I travel around Asia working with teachers online, sometimes in person as well. I'm based at Hangzhou Normal University. There's our logo for my where I'm at right now. I work with graduate students with their thesis writing. I'm also working with nursing and public health teachers.
Evet, çıtura takmara. Şimdi
Um,
hesa tabi içinde direkt asak.
that's not me talking. Who's
What?
that? That's Nyam. I don't know who Nyam is, but ooh, that'd be fun if I can mute folks. But yeah, I work with nursing and public health teachers. It started off as like teaching them, helping them with speaking and pronunciation of medical terms, but it also became more of just teaching strategies and stuff like that. I also do PE classes at my university, and I coach flag football. So that's quite fun. And I go around to different universities to visit universities and do flag football as well. I'm a student myself. I'm doing my doctorate in TESOL at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. There's my email. There's my org ID. One time somebody asked me for my org ID. There's that. I need to update some stuff. But cool. I see people blowing up the chat. I'll have to check that out later. And then one thing that I've done recently is why am I a good person to talk about this topic? So in terms of AI, I've trained hundreds of teachers and students about AI within the last year and a half, maybe. I've visited several universities and conferences and stuff to talk about AI, to help with AI training with students and teachers. I've published some on AI already. For example, with EWB, I have their most recent newsletter is up here in the corner. That's the citation for it, and there's the link to check out EWB's newsletter that came out this month, earlier this month, right? Yeah, so that was a nice little workshop I did about AI, and that's some little bit of research with it. And it's very practitioner based. So if you want to do a workshop with your teachers or students, that's an idea. And I'm currently doing some research projects now with AI. Some people keep up with me. I have some friends in the group, and they ask me what I'm doing every day, and every day I'm working on research. So I'm looking with AI for language learning strategies. That's the LLS, how students are using AI to help them learn their language, learn, English or whatever. Also with ethics, and also with teacher-student interactions about AI. So that's what I'm researching right now. Yeah, I really don't like. I kind of fell into AI just because it's something that came up in a previous study I did about challenges that teachers and students were having. And then that's why I'm researching AI. But before that, I didn't really care much about it. So I'm just looking at AI just because it's a thing that lots of teachers or students have trouble with, just to help out teachers and students. Great. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to look at using AI in teaching, and then AI specifically for teachers and teaching. So there's a little bit of a difference. AI in your class, how we use it, how you guys use it. And then we're going to slide into ethics. What's right, what's wrong, what do people think about it? And then look at some of my research that I'm working on right now. I just sent in a proposal for a journal article today to system, and I'm working on another proposal for a book with Routledge. I'm working on a book chapter for Routledge, a proposal for them. And then I'll summarize for the final word. Okay, great. So let's start with something kind of basic. You guys can unmute yourselves and chat for a bit, or we can use the chat box. But what have you used AI for related to teaching? Like, what do you guys use AI for to help you with teaching and stuff? You can unmute, you can use a chat box, whatever you guys want. Let me pull up the chat box. Anybody have any ideas? Developing materials, nice. PPTs, good. Beautiful. This is going to come up later when we look at some of my research. Um, Exercises, yeah. So, materials and activities, make some tasks to find materials. Ooh, because you can pretty much use AI now, like the way we would use Google, using it for assessment stuff. So, yeah, it can help you with assessing, it can help you make assessments. Very fun. Anybody else got anything? Creating interest. Oh, lesson planning. Yeah. There's some AIs that are meant just for teachers and the one things that can help out with lesson plans. Making tests, making worksheets, correcting some students, lesson planning, evaluating ideas, extending lesson plans, quizzes. Yeah. Beautiful. Teach methods, strategies, activities. Beautiful. All right. Here's some things I have. So one thing, nobody talked about translating. Technically, translating is, especially if you use like on the Google Translate, or in China we have Baidu Translate and stuff like that. But now again, you can use GPT or whatnot to help you translate. That's AI, because technically AI is a machine or computer doing something that a human would do normally in a way like that. So translating falls into that category. Coming up with ideas about what you want to teach, ideas to make your lessons better, making lesson plans, adjusting text. So it's really cool. You can plug in like you can plug in a story let's say like we want like the Lion, the Mouse. So a nice little story like Lion, the Mouse, or just some little short story like that. We can ask AI to make it longer, to make it shorter, to make it a different level, like make it for second graders versus make it for university students, and stuff like that. We can ask it to make materials for us, PPTs, quizzes. It can help with feedback. I have one thing with that later. And also sometimes it can help us grade stuff if you use it the right way. It can, if you feed it your rubric and feed it some examples with your grading, it sometimes can match how you are or be quite close. I've seen, I've done workshops with teachers, and a teacher tried to do this, and then what the AI graded a paper was almost the same as what I graded it. Not exactly the same, but it can be a nice idea. Beautiful. Now, what kind of tools or websites are you guys using for AI? Like, what kind of AI tools are you guys using? We can drop it in the chat box. We can, unmute ourselves. But yeah, what tools or websites are you guys using for teaching purposes? Gemini, I was like, what's good Gemini? Gemini, Kahoot, WordWall. WordWall is really nice, actually. I learned about WordWall when I was in Mongolia, like 2 months ago. WordWall is quite nice. Gemini, again, misspelt by two different times. Sutori. Ooh, this one's neat. This one's named Jeopardy? That's new for me. GPT, WordWall. WordWall is nice. Notebook, Kahoot. I know about Kahoot. Yeah, I used Kahoot when I was in the US teaching high school and stuff. Great. Gemini. See now, so interesting because I'm in China, so like Gemini and GPT and stuff like that is blocked. Um, Gemini, GPT, Bing Copilot, all that's blocked. So in China, we use a lot of what is it? Doubao, which is a Chinese AI, or DeepSeek and stuff like that. It's what we use a lot of in China. Beautiful. Nice. Okay, cool. So here we're gonna look at some stuff. Great. So here are some, things that are for teaching and whatnot with AI. So there's stuff that's just for teachers. Magic School AI. If you guys have attended previous sessions that I've talked about AI before, I did talk about Magic School AI some. I'll go over it again really quick. I think I also did talk about Twee. Twee's also quite nice, but now Twee starts wanting you to pay for stuff. It used to be much more free, but now they require payments. Ugh, I don't pay for nothing. So Magical AI is quite nice. There's stuff for language checkers, Grammarly is quite nice. Quillbot's really good and useful. I use Quillbot. I used it I think yesterday. I use Quillbot. I'll talk about that. And the Marking Mate, I'll talk about that a bit as well. For speaking and listening, there's some things like Elsa Speak and SpeechSing, but then again, you can also use GPT to help you with speaking and listening practice, which is quite interesting. I do have some students saying they do that. And then there's some language apps or games. Duolingo is AI technically because it adapts itself for you. Same thing with Babbel. Great, let's check these out. So this is Magic School AI. Let me see if I can get the link and throw it in the chat for you guys. Copy, beautiful. Cool, so there's Magic School AI. It is quite nice. I like it a lot. I used to use it a lot, but now right now I don't use it that much because it's just what I'm teaching now. But anyway, crap. There we go. So there's different options. They sometimes change rather quickly. Sometimes they add more stuff. It's quite a good website. I looked at them working for them actually. But anyway, they can help you make a PPT, make multiple choice quizzes, help you edit a text, help with lesson plans. I know one guy that got a job offer for a lesson plan that he made. He used this to help him make his lesson plan. So that's quite interesting. Help you make a rubric. That's really kind of fun actually, because I did that in a workshop showing teachers how you can make a rubric using this. And you say, what you're looking to grade, what your categories are, how many levels you want, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level like that. So that's quite fun. It can make some cute little songs for you. This is all quite fun. So here's the one about making a song. Like if you have little kids or younger learners, I asked it to make a song about AI for in education to the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It gives you this. But yeah, you can have it do songs like from Taylor Swift to Kendrick Lamar, and it does it quite well. It will not sing it for you, but nowadays you can be able to make the computer talk. And yeah, the beat's quite nice. That's one thing that's quite fun. In terms of PPTs, lots of people use Canva. So Canva can make some fun PPTs and stuff. Yeah, they're kind of okay. I'm very picky about my PPTs, so all my PPTs are made by myself. In China, we have this AI called Kimi, and the Chinese version, not the English, they also have English version. The English version has less features. But the Chinese version also has a thing where it will make a PPT for you. Sometimes they look quite nice, but then a lot of times they seem to be very, these AI PPTs seem to be very, very pretty. But then a lot of time, if you look at it closely, they seem kind of superficial. The details are kind of lacking, and it seems kind of bland actually. But it looks very pretty. Great. All right, here's some other stuff. So the XGTLU marking weight. Yeah, is it AI or not? Nah, I don't know. You can say it's not, but yeah. Anyway, it's free. You don't need an account. You can use it as much as you want. You don't have to sign up with email, nothing at all. It is quite nice and useful. It started at a university where I used to teach, and the guy who helped create it is now in charge of like the school of where I'm doing my doctorate um, at St. Andrews. So we have that connection that we used to work at the same university. But yeah, this is nice. But here's how this goes. It looks like this. You just plug in your text here. You want it to at least be 200 words. You can make it a whole essay. I've done it with papers of like, a couple thousand words. And then you ask for you to check your paper, and it gives you this. So it will give you stuff in different colors. It also gives you this stuff here down the side, like a report card, your report details, and tries to give you scores for your grammar and blah 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 blah. Don't look at any of that. Don't pay. I'm in China, and the students really like grades and numbers. They just want to look at numbers, but they don't. No, you focus on the stuff on the left, and that's the stuff you need to improve on. So the idea is there's three colors. There's red, which is academic style. This is stuff like words that are not academic, so informal language. Green is grammar or spelling issues. In blue, it's what's called general style. Usually that is words that are repeated too many times within the same paragraph. So it's saying that you need to use some synonyms to show that you have a more broad vocabulary. Great. So we have this. This is one of my students from, maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. But we see, they say food too many times. They say delivery too many times. They say more a lot. So you want to say, what's another way of saying more? In terms of green, which is grammar and spelling, here they've made a space for main, so that's a problem. Takeouts, this should be take out. And then also it thinks takeout is spelled wrong. So sometimes this shows that the computer is sometimes wrong. We see some spacing issues where they forgot to make a space after a period or a comma. That's quite common in China, just because the way you type in Chinese on a keyboard is the computer will automatically make a space for you after a period, a comma, and it doesn't do that in English. And then of course with red, it's academic style stuff, so we don't want to say a lot in academic writing. You want to say, it can contribute greatly to the economy or something like that. You don't want to say make, but make how. Like make can mean different things. Try to squeeze. So you don't want to say try. Try's not that academic. And then what's. So you don't want contractions in academic stuff. So I like doing this with my students because it does not fix it for you. So a lot of times if you use, let's say, Grammarly or anything like that, it has an option just to select all recommendations. And then if the students don't learn anything, they just say click, click, click. But this actually, it doesn't fix it for you. So you have to figure out what's wrong. You have to think about what's the problem, which I quite like because the students then have to think about, is this wrong? If it is, what's wrong with it? Um, so they have to think about it more. Now you can hover over some words, like say what, you can hover over it, and it'll say why it's wrong. Like we know we don't want to say contractions. And a lot, it will say what's wrong with it, and then it will try to give you some suggestions, but it does not fix it for you. So I quite like this. I use this for my own writing whenever I write papers to get published and stuff. Great. There's also Grammarly, which is kind of similar to the thing that we just looked at with the marking mate, but Grammarly has a thing like this where you can just click, 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 and you accept all. It's quicker. It might be better in some cases, but then I think it's reducing the student's ability to think. It's just they're just gonna accept it all. Great. Quillbot also does stuff like that with grammar checking, and also it can help you paraphrase. It can help you check for AI, but it's not very accurate. And it says on the website that it's not very accurate. Help you check for plagiarism, but then again, that's not very accurate either. Yeah. But I mainly use it for the citation generator to help me keep track of my citations whenever I'm writing academic papers. And I try to show my students who are writing academic stuff to use it because it can help you. Pretty much all you need is a DOI, and you plug in a DOI, and it'll give you a citation. And then you just select if you want like APA, Harvard, MLA, whatever. And that's quite nice. And this is free. I don't pay for nothing. I don't pay for nothing, dudes. Um, all I pay for is like Netflix. That's all I pay for. But yeah, anything like that. And then, yeah, no, it's free. You just got to sign up with your email. It's quite nice. Here's some stuff to help you with speaking. Also, speaking and speech thing. I tried them out a little bit. It seems kind of but now you can even talk to, GPT to work on pronunciation and stuff. And then, of course, we have Duolingo and Babbel, which are based on AI because they will they will make you kind of a personalized learning plan based on how you're doing, and they adapt to you as you go along. And it's just a computer. It's no real person. And there's been papers about Duolingo, and I think Duolingo is actually trying to sponsor people to research their app and how they're doing. And it's quite fun. Great. All right, now. That's enough of all the AI tools and stuff. Let's get into ethics. So, generally, we as teachers, we don't want our students to use AI too much or to use it for wrong things. We don't want them to use it for cheating. We don't want them to, ask GPT to write their essay or GPT to do their homework. We don't want them to do that. So don't want them to use it too much. We don't want them to use it incorrectly. And also, we kind of want students to be honest but with us about how they're using AI. If we ask them about it, we want them to be honest, like, hey, I'm using AI to help me with this. We want to be honest with it. But what about us teachers? So this is the turn, instead of looking at AI on the students, let's think about looking at ourselves, how we should be using AI. So let's start off with this question. What should teachers not use AI for? So this is fun to ask teachers, y'all, and it's also fun to ask students. And later we'll look at some of my research because I asked students this. But what should teachers not be using AI for? Y'all can drop something in chat box, y'all can unmute yourselves. But yeah, what's some things that teachers should not use AI for? What do you guys think? Mm. So I see grading for writing articles. Like if I'm doing like publishing an article, yeah. No. And it's so fun being in China because you can tell lots of articles that are in English that are coming out of China are made by GPT or, some kind of AI. But then the Chinese people will try and say, well, because English is not our first language. But I'm like, that's not a good excuse. Then you should not be writing in English if you cannot do it by yourself. So like I have a publication in Spanish. I think just one, no, two, maybe one or two. I think just one. But then this was before GPT and stuff came out, is when I published that. But I know that if I did not use AI to help me publish in Spanish, And then knowing that, oh, now I can use GPT to publish in any language I want to, I don't think that's right, right? So yeah, stuff like, so we have grading, making final decisions on content and assessment. Fun, fun, fun. Great. Cool. All right. So I'm working on some studies right now with AI. The first kind of one that started it all was in this spring. I did a survey with open and closed items. So I did a survey with closed and open items. I had 202 students and 36 teachers, within EAP, which is English for Academic Purposes, at Sino-Foreign, I cut out the word, at Sino-Foreign institutions. So Sino-Foreign, universities, these kind of transnational universities that we have in China. Anyway, 202 students, 36 teachers. I looked at what for and why teachers and students use AI. So what they use it for and why they're using it, their overall perceptions and concerns of AI, and what each group considered appropriate and inappropriate use of AI of the other group. So this is pretty much like what teachers think is appropriate or inappropriate of students to use AI for, and what students think is appropriate and inappropriate for teachers to use AI for. So that is pretty much what teachers don't want students to use AI for and what students don't want teachers to use AI for. And then also like, yeah, so it's a little bit complicated when you say it, but it's going to be kind of cool to look at. And then also the interactions between teachers and students about AI. So are you talking to your students about AI? Is your teacher talking to you about AI? What's it about? How are you discussing this? How are these interactions going? Are they just telling you stuff? Or are they showing you how to use AI correctly? Stuff like that. And now I'm currently working on designing interviews, exploring these kind of things more in terms of the ethical stuff, how students use it for language learning, and the interactions between teachers and students. Cool. So let's start with this. So this was pretty much a checklist. There's a checklist on the survey. And I gave it to the teachers and students. For the teachers, I ask, what do you use AI for? And you just tick, tick, tick what you use AI for. For students, it's what do you think is okay for teachers to use AI for? And then you check what you think is okay. And then you think it's not okay, you don't check it. All right, so looking at this, do we see some things? What do you think we're going to find? Are we going to find the teachers and students to be about the same? Do you think teachers are going to use AI more than the students think is okay? Do you think the teachers are going to use AI not very much? Ooh, so many questions we can have with this. But fun. But yeah, these are the 8 things I had. I think there's 8. Oh, and then there's also a thing that I left open where they could write in an answer, I believe. So somebody says I don't ask my students to use AI. Fun. Okay, great. Let's check out some answers for this. So this is pretty much the teachers. We have 2 sides down here on the side. And this is ranked in order of how much the teachers are doing it. And then I have the students for the same thing, the percentage, how many students say it, and then I have where they rank amongst the students there. So we see the number one thing that teachers are using AI for is to make materials. 94%, 31 to 36 are using it to make materials. And then we see, examples is only by 26 teachers, plan lessons is only 23 teachers, 70%, make assessments, only 52, or to help make assessments, quizzes, exams, 52%, giving feedback is less, making PPTs is less, making rubrics less, grading assignments, which I was like, I thought that was quite interesting because there's 3 teachers here saying they use AI to help them grade stuff, which really I would like that to be 0. But then you can get into what do you use it for exactly. So maybe I use it, I might would grade an essay and then I use maybe GPT to confirm what I'm thinking and see if I miss anything. Maybe it's like that. But then again, I'm putting a student's essay into GPT, which I don't think we should do that because then where does it go? You know. But some interesting things I have highlighted. So the number one thing that students think is okay, that students approve teachers to use AI for, is making lesson plans. But then that's the third thing that teachers use it for, or teachers report that they use it for. And there's a huge difference between what students think. So 57% of students think is appropriate for teachers to use AI to help them make materials. So we have 43% that think that's inappropriate, but yet that's what most teachers use it for. Nearly all of them, 94%. Here we see about over 50% of the teachers are using AI to help them with assessments, but then that's only deemed appropriate by a little over a quarter of the students. And then down here is another big difference. We see like, over 60% of the students think it's okay to use AI to make PPTs, but in reality, only about 24% of the teachers actually do that. And then this can be, just AI doesn't make very good PPTs for teachers. Some teachers are finding out that, it's not that great sometimes. So that's fun to look at and consider. So we see a difference between what teachers are doing versus what students think is appropriate. Great. Now, next question. Should we tell our students what we use AI for? So if we use AI to help us make a PPT or help us make an assessment or make materials, should we tell them? We want them to be honest with us about how they use AI. Should we be honest with them? What do you guys think? And why? 50-50. Ah, be aware of using PPT, says Simrat. Maybe. It's very fun because I've used, being honest is crucial, yeah. So one thing I think is really fun is to talk with teachers, is so many teachers are hypocrites because teachers will be like, I want to know what the students are doing, but then they won't be honest with the student about how we do our work and stuff. I'll be telling you, like, if so I'm doing my doctorate right now and I have to write I've in the past I've had to write papers for professors. If my professor is using AI to grade my work, I will be very upset. Very upset. Why do I pay, thousands of dollars every year for AI to give me grades? What's the point of having a teacher? So I think being a student myself kind of helps influence my way of thinking about that. But yeah, I know I had one teacher is just like, I'm not telling the student how I grade their paper. That's none of their business. I'm like, that sounds very hypocritical of you. But then one thing so I've tried out AI for different stuff, and I see other teachers make PPTs for workshops or whatnot, and I can see that they use GPT or some kind of AI to help them make their PPT just the way it's structured. For example, if you ask GPT something and it gives you bullet points, it will end each bullet point with a period, even if it's not a full sentence. Just the way it's structured, and you'll have like cute little emojis. And so I can tell, like, oh, did you use GPT for this? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, I can tell. And GPT is also very bad for discussion, like making discussions inside workshops. It'll just give you facts. So that's one way I can tell that something's made by GPT. But yeah, cool. So this is something fun to consider. But should we be telling our students about what we use AI for? I use AI sometimes to help with some stuff, and I'll tell them they ask, but really I don't use it that much. I don't think it makes good PPTs. I try to use it sometimes for making materials. Sometimes it doesn't make very good materials. Okay, great. Now, let's go on to another kind of question that was in my survey that I did with the teachers and students that we talked about. One thing was, what concerns do you have about EAP teachers using AI to help them teach? So I asked the students, what concerns do you have about the teachers using AI to help them? And what do you think some of the students said? What are some things the students said? What are some of their concerns about teachers using AI to help them teach? What do you guys think? Anybody? Yeah, so yeah, thank you, Naziba. So EAP is English for academic purposes. But pretty much, you're English teacher at university. What kind of concerns do you have about them using AI to help them teach? It's like me being a student, if I know my teacher's using AI, and one thing I'm wondering is like, why do I need you? What are you using it for exactly? Are you using it to grade my paper? If you're using it for grading my paper, like you give my paper to AI, then somebody else can find my paper using GPT, and then I end up plagiarizing myself because my research is now out there in the massive AI. Don't do that. Don't give AI students papers. That's a bad idea. Oh, everybody's so quiet for this one. But cool, let's check it out. This is what the students were telling me. So number one thing is like they thought that the lessons would be kind of generic and not personalized. So AI will give you stuff that's very bland and basic and is not tailored specifically for the students. That's what the teacher does. There's also a good bit of students talking about AI making mistakes with stuff. Some folks, so this is like getting lower percentage, the lower number of students. These are how many number of students, this is the percentage of students. So after that, I stopped doing the percentage. But anyway, we saw some students talking about it lowers the status of a teacher, the professionalism of a teacher, to the point of like, what's the point of a teacher at all? It's very funny because some universities in China were starting to fire or let go of English teachers because like, oh, we can replace you with AI. And then some English teachers at universities had to reapply for their jobs to show that they cannot be replaced by AI. There's concerns about AI being used for grading. Is it fair? Is it accurate? There's worries that, using AI too much will make teachers lazy, make it where teachers don't think actually. They want it to maybe be used as a tool, but not to replace teachers. There are also concerns about it being used for feedback, same for grading. One idea is that it's going to reduce or hamper the student-teacher interaction. Because the idea is like, if I use AI to grade your papers, then what am I going to do in class when I give you feedback one-on-one? Because I didn't read your paper myself. There's going to be less interaction going on there. And then some students said they don't know how teachers use AI at all. They don't know. Ooh, I see a comment. Different countries make mistakes. Cool. All right. Now, have you guys discussed or had any kind of interactions with your students about AI? What have you guys talked to your students about AI? This is another question that came up in my survey. But how are you guys talking about AI with your students? Are you? Are you talking about AI with your students or are you not? If you're not, why? Are you scared to talk to them about it? I did a talk like this for BALAP, which is the British Association for Lectures of English for Academic Purposes. It's a big British thing. But one teacher was like, I don't want to talk to my students about AI because I think if I do, they will use it more. Or if I talk about it, they will use it. So how to use it ethically. So we can talk about ethics. What is appropriate, what's inappropriate? Because people have different ideas. And usually one problem is there's no clear standard. There's no clear line of what is okay, what's not okay. And lots of universities don't have that policy yet. But anybody else got anything? Do's and don'ts, beautiful. Can AI replace teachers? Ooh, that'd be fun to have a question with students. Prompt awareness activities. Oh yeah, how to prompt right is good. Yeah. Teach them how to use AI. So not just talk about using AI, but how to use it correctly. Instead of like, no, they think how to use it right, how to use it incorrect, like what assignments, what kind of things we don't want you to do it for, but then also how to use it effectively, how to prompt. How much AI help they can have for their essays. That's good. Don't use AI a lot. Use it in an appropriate way. Is it okay for teachers to use AI? Yeah, that's all kinds of fun discussions to have with that. Beautiful. All right. Here's some things that came from my talk. So these were survey items on a 1 through 5 scale. And I looked at stuff like this. So one thing, and this is how they overlap between teachers and students. So again, 202 students, 36 teachers. Here's some interesting stuff. So I think AI might reduce a student's ability to think for themselves. Students give it a 2.97. Teachers give it a 3.89. So you see almost a 1 point difference. So we see here, here we'll come back to it. I think AI might encourage students to cheat. Students give it 2.89. Teachers give it 3.92 over a 1 point difference, which is quite significant on a 5 point scale. EAP teachers explain what AI can and cannot be used for, 2.94. Teachers give it a 3.89. Again, almost a 1 point difference. So what we see is here with the first two, teachers are tend to be much more hesitant or maybe worried or concerned about AI than students in terms of reducing students' thinking skills as well as encouraging students to cheat. Now, also in terms of having interactions with the students, between students and teachers, teachers are saying that they talk to students about AI, but students are saying they do it much less, almost a 1 point less. So there seems to be a mismatch. So then maybe teachers need to have more discussions with AI with the students. Maybe they need to be more clear about it. Teachers think they're doing it, but students say they're not as much. Hmm. So that's something fun to work with. And this is very fun because with about 100 or something of these students, after I did this survey, I did a workshop with them about AI, and that was their first time having a workshop. And then later I did a pre-test, post-test kind of thing, and that's for another time. But great. Now also, I asked the teachers, describe discussions that you've had with students. And this is what was said a lot. So this comes from the open data, the right, you fill in a response, you write it yourself. So a lot of teachers are saying they're talking about how AI can be helpful, the do's and don'ts, can go into ethics. About a quarter of them saying that. About a quarter are telling them, don't encourage them to use AI or maybe not use it too much, have a balance. Only a little under 20% are you doing about correct and effective use of AI. But we see the top thing being how AI can be helpful, and then later on we see correct use, effective use. We see some people talking about how students use AI. No, that's out of order. Sorry, I just made this today. I'm still working on this data, organizing and stuff. But yeah, in terms of how to use AI correctly, how to prompt those kind of things, which our friend from Brazil threw in a group chat. I think his name was Fernando. Um, Only 3% or three teachers out of 36 are saying they do that. So three out of 36. And then telling them to be critical of AI, again, there's only three. And then one teacher says that they have not discussed AI with their students. Now, with the students, I tried to make this side by side, but it was a little bit messy. For the students, how they're saying that teachers are talking to them about AI, they're getting lots of don'ts first. So it's like, don't use it for this. Don't over rely on it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Or the teacher says, I don't like students using AI. Then we see about how to use it correctly. So here with the teachers, it starts off with the positive stuff, like how AI can be helpful, and then the do's and don'ts to encourage them. With the students, so they're saying lots of teachers are saying, don't do it. Don't use it. And then later on, you see how to be useful with only 19 students talking about that. Then some students talked about specific things that the teachers are telling them to how AI can help you. So check your work, check your essay, polish your work, search for information, help you with citing, help you translate, help you brainstorm. Those useful things that AI can do for you. That's only be said by a little over 12. I need to count the numbers, but 12-ish. And then later on down here, we see four examples of different teachers say different things. And then one student, this is very fun. One student specifically said that the white teachers will say that AI is bad, AI is cheating, but the Chinese teachers will say that AI is good, AI makes learning less tricky. So we see a difference between cultural, where the teacher is coming from. Are they a foreigner, a Westerner, like somebody from the US, UK, or a local Chinese teacher teaching English? And then they will have different opinions. And that's something that came up in my study as well, between different teachers saying different things and why. Um, yeah. But we have also four students saying the teacher has not discussed AI with them. So this is all quite interesting to look at. And I'm still organizing this. This is quite fresh. Great. Okay. Let me summarize, and then we're gonna have, I guess, about 10 minutes to do questions and stuff. So yeah, today was a little bit because I already went through lots of AI stuff last time, so I didn't want to bore you guys. Yeah, just share some research and share some cool ideas and things that are going on. But yeah, pretty much so again, teachers need to explore AI to help you guys, so for teaching purposes. But remember, AI needs to remain a tool and not be the teacher. Don't use it too much. Also, check it. So anything that you use AI for, you should check. It's so funny. I was writing a proposal for a journal article, and I think I had maybe 640 words, and I wanted to get it down to 500. So I gave it to GPT and asked GPT to make it 500 words, and GPT is like, okay, cool, here you go. And it was 620 words. I'm like, no. So good thing I checked it. But yeah, still. And then I didn't use it anyway. I just did it by myself. Yeah, I don't trust AI usually cannot do as good of a job as I can. Now, we should be honest with our students about how we use AI. So I really think we should to not be hypocrites. And also, I think it's fun for us to try out AI ourselves for teaching stuff, and also like how would the students use AI to help them complete assignments or help them study? Because then that helps us understand problems that the students are going to have using it, and it also helps us keep it pace with the students. Because otherwise, the students are going to be way ahead of us in terms of how they use AI to help them work. That is, hopefully they're using it to help them study, to help them learn, and not just help them get answers and cheat. Cool. I see some people asking questions. Great. And also, I think we as teachers should model good and ethical use of AI. So in terms of, using it to help you, but not do too much. And then checking it ourselves, and then also being, honest about what we use it for. I did some work this weekend in Beijing. And then I said that I tried to use AI to help me make some stuff, but I didn't like it, and so I just made it myself. So just saying how we use AI ourselves and what we find good and not good about it. Great. All right. Any questions? We'll come back to that in a bit. Oh, hey, here's a current study I'm doing. Y'all take a picture of this. Right here, I'll put this in the group chat. But yeah, I think some of you guys have already done this for me, but yeah, I'm doing a study right now looking at English teachers' challenges throughout Asia. I see already I have good folks from Tajikistan and Mongolia and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, here's my new study that I'm working on. I'm collecting data right now. I haven't even looked at it yet just because I've been working on other stuff with AI. But the idea is to keep one step ahead. But anyway, looking at challenges and needs of English teachers in Asia and your PD preferences. So that's eventually going to lead into PD development for teachers like you guys. Things that I do for this webinar come from previous research like this, and things if hopefully eventually I can visit Tajikistan and do something in person. Um, but yeah, it's what I make workshops and do webinars like this online, and a lot of it comes from research like this because I make stuff based on what you guys need. For example, AI. I didn't really care about AI, but then it became a thing where teachers were having trouble with it and students were having trouble with it. So then I started researching it and made this workshop and stuff with it. That's great. Here are all my socials again. Scan for my Instagram. My Facebook is my name. There's my blog. There's my YouTube. There's my email. There's my org ID. If you have WeChat, which is a Chinese thing, there's the QR code for my WeChat. And okay, great. Cool. And now I guess I'll open up for questions.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
thank you so much,
Mitchell.
Cecilia.
Yeah, it was quite informative and also interesting to see, yeah, about your study, about your surveys and the results of your survey. This is something like, you expect it to be different, but then the survey, yeah, gives or reveals quite contradictory, yes,
Yeah, it's quite fun.
information. And this is, I think, to some extent, this is good. Why? Because we sometimes have our own biases, or we sometimes like have like, some kind of our own assumptions about that. But the survey, yeah, it usually gives us like, what the real situation is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. One thing so here's another thing. I'm I'm researching, preparing to that proposal that I'm writing for that journal. If you look at lots of research about AI, how students use AI, how AI is so useful for students to help them learn and blah blah blah, a lot of those studies are based on experiments. So the idea is like, okay, I'm gonna use Duolingo in one of my classes, and then I'm gonna do a survey with my students after. And like, wow, my students say Duolingo is so useful to help them learn. But my thing is like, yeah, they're gonna say that because you experimented with them. You're influencing how they think. Versus if you just do that before you do an experiment, they might think something different. So there's usually not a pre-test, post-test. It's just a post-test after an experiment. And lots of studies are like that. And lots of studies will only focus on one AI like
Mhm.
that. So that's one issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting.
Okay, we have a couple of questions from our audience, and yeah, we welcome more questions because we still have 7 minutes, and maybe just,
Yeah, totally.
yeah, maybe we'll manage to ask as many as possible questions. Okay, we have a question from Fernando. He's asking, what problems might teacher who don't acknowledge the importance of AI have in the future?
Okay, cool. So here's one thing. So you remember if, well, you probably don't remember, this is way before I was born, but people were worried that calculators would replace teachers, or people were worried that computers would replace a lot of things. And what happened was computers did not replace teachers. What happened was people who were not computer savvy do not teach now. So the idea is like now, if you're teaching, you have to know how to use a computer. You have to know how to use Word and Excel. So eventually, it's probably become like that. So it's pretty much like start learning about how to use AI just to get to the point where it's going to be one of those necessary job skills. And also just how students are going to use it. For me, it's a big thing about using it just so that you know where the students are coming from. So it helps you understand the students because you know the students are going to be using AI for something. But then with that, we can show them how AI can be used correctly or effectively and why you should not use AI all the time or how it can be wrong is really good to point out. I think that answers the question.
Okay, all right. Okay, so next question. It's kind of because it also just, I'm coming back to this question because the results of your survey also pointed out that the teachers use AI more often than the students. Yeah. And then the point here, like, what does teaching mean when a machine can create exercises, correct writing, and explain grammar? I think this is a question for teachers, not for you. I mean, just in terms of those who are overusing AI in their like teaching.
Ooh,
But
be
I
fun.
think also just maybe from point of view as a person who is studying also AI kind of impact in teachers' life. What do you think about that?
Cool. So one thing comes will be what's the point of teaching? So teaching is slowly becoming less about material, maybe material design and giving feedback, but then it's just how you are in the classroom. So a lot of times, so I can have all my materials and all my PPTs and all that stuff done with AI, but then what am I doing in the classroom? How am I interacting with students? How am I giving feedback one-on-one? Am I giving feedback? The one thing is going to be kind of fun is people who just lecture. Well, then if you just
Mhm.
lecture, I can just listen to GPT read me a book. or just watch a YouTube video. So I hate lectures. But I did try and making classes interactive, making communicative and stuff. Then the teacher kind of goes from, let's say, a material designer or an assessment creator to kind of the guide and facilitator in group discussions and monitoring those. So of course, then that goes from what AI can do versus what a computer cannot do. So of course, the computer for now, robots and stuff can't do that. Can't, organize students in groups and have them have a discussion for 3 minutes or have them do a think, pair, share and have them move around and do like, I don't know, a random dictation or a jigsaw.
Mhm.
So that's the thing that still the teacher has to do. Now it gets to the point where some teachers don't do that, or some teachers are not good at that, and then you're the ones who are replaceable. So teachers need to up their skills.
Yeah, and I think like, to some point, like, asking critical questions. Yeah. I mean, just the teachers asking critical questions. Why I'm doing this exercise? What's the rationale behind this exercise? Is it just, beneficial for my students? And is it just, leading to student outputs and also just, to the learning objectives? Is it just, bringing all these results into my teaching? I think this kind of questions should be also leading questions.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have next question. Uh, Fernando is asking, do you believe it is crucial for teachers nowadays to get familiar with using AI and why?
Yeah, I think I've already talked about that. So I think it's kind of crucial for teachers because one, students are doing it. If you think your students are not using AI, you're living some kind of fantasy. Because like if your students have access to AI, they are going to use it. They're probably going to use it too much. They're probably going to use it in the wrong ways. So I think it's important for us to learn about AI to help the students use it correctly, and maybe, identify or flag those inappropriate uses. But then also like help them use it correctly to help them get where they don't get in trouble later when they go to university or even jobs. But then also it can be useful for us. So I think yeah, it should learn how to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next
Ooh.
question. So, what skills do teachers need to use AI effectively?
Okay, great. Ah, so fun. So I would say, oh, there's a couple things about what is AI literacy. So then it's one thing where you look at different kinds of AI and then see what they're good for, what their purposes are for, and how you can use them for different things in terms of using materials. Kind of like what we looked at earlier about translating, making materials, expanding materials, making them different levels and stuff like that. Um, and then I forgot what I was gonna say. I was going, and then I forgot where I was going. Why is it crucial? What should teachers learn about to use AI for? And then also learn about what AI can and cannot do. And I think that's really important because then you want to show that to students what it can and cannot do. And then also you want to try to create some assignments or some tasks that are tricky for AI, where AI cannot do it. So you want to try to make AI proof task and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, okay, yeah, it sounds good. Next question from Sabrini. So she's asking, is it okay to use AI while doing any scientific work?
Yeah, okay, awesome. So it depends on what you're using it for. So a lot of times you will use, so I'm like doing research right now. So a lot of times we use AI to help us with our data, like crunch the numbers. And of course that helps out a lot. You can maybe use it to help you organize stuff. I will use it, sometimes a lot of people use it as like, I would use like my supervisor or another professor and try like to talk back and forth with it, like have a conversation about how can I make my research questions sound better? Or a lot of times I will use the AI kind of like how I use my university library. Like I will try to find some articles about, I don't know, AI in Chinese universities. So usually if you try your university library website, it will only give you articles or books, whatever, that have those words in the title. But then if you ask AI can read, millions and millions of articles and find those in the abstract or in the article itself. So I found sometimes using AI to help me find, articles. And then I just ask for the DOIs and stuff. Now, sometimes those are real and sometimes they're fake. So you have to check it yourself. Because sometimes AI like GPT or whatever will hallucinate articles. It will give you like, here's, I don't know, let me pick on somebody who's in the audience. Goal. It'll say, Goal 2025 says blah, 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 blah. Here's the DOI, but then you click on DOI and it's a fake DOI. And it's a completely fake author, it's a completely fake article. So
Mm.
you have to check it.
Okay,
You have
okay.
to be
So
careful with it.
yeah. All right. I agree. Yes, to check everything that produced by AI, because again, just as you already mentioned, like we should be very careful because AI, yes, cannot do everything like, yeah, very I mean, just, professional in terms of like, it just, generates all the responses and data from its own, like, search engines inside yes, the AI. And therefore, like, it's again AI generated like search or AI generated response. Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
next question. Will AI change our jobs in the future?
Yeah, so it's one thing is making our jobs like me. So I teach university. And having students asking students to write an essay, and so many students would just you go to GPT or DeepSeek to write an essay for them, and it's absolute trash. So and then yeah, so you're grading AI, an AI essay, and so now lots of teachers are saying, why do I even grade the essay myself if it's not a student's essay? So now some teachers are starting to use GPT to grade an essay that GPT made. Um, so now we
Yeah.
have teachers and students both using AI to grade each other. Um, so that's trash. So it's making that stuff harder. We have another question about does that impact students' thinking skills? It's very fun because the students are saying that some students are worried about AI giving the wrong answers, but also a lot of students are like, it's weakening my skills or weakening our skills as a people, our thinking skills. So a lot of these are concerns. So, and then a lot of people are not teaching students how to use AI correctly, how to use it effectively, how to prompt even, or just like what's okay, what's not okay. It's becoming harder and harder to catch AI, people that use AI incorrectly, because AI is getting better with stuff. Now it can make real references and real citations. Some of them are accurate, some of them are not. So it's becoming harder.
Mhm.
It's definitely another thing that's making our job harder. It can be helpful for us, but yeah, it's a lot of trouble as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. And I think like, to some extent, maybe in the future we can also do another webinar about how to use AI, ethically. Yes, just
Mhm.
what is do and what is don't, and maybe just, basically practically showing. Yeah, because I'm afraid like, lots of teachers nowadays, as you already mentioned, doing trash thing like, they are producing some materials again, Leah, and the students also producing materials on AI, using AI, and that's like, we don't know, like, what's the purpose out of that, and like, again, just, we are just doing self-deception out of that. So maybe just, doing
Mhm.
something really practical will make sense in terms of like, okay, if you are using AI, maybe just, you will learn from AI in terms of like, as I already mentioned, some students have fear writing some EAP piece of
Mhm.
material or something like that. Maybe just looking from different angles, like from teachers' perspective and from students' perspective, and how to learn and use AI in these terms, so they learn basically from these, but not over relying to AI, and also just not using AI produced yes, products as and claiming it just, uh, personal, personal
Yeah,
product, something
I
like that.
see. So I see another question. I think Delia. I think that's how to pronounce it. But is AI good for exam prep? It can be if you know how to use it. So one thing is like, so let's take GPT. Let's say that you have a test tomorrow over chapter 4 from a book. The idea is you can take the PDF or the scan of the book, plug it into GPT, ask it to read it, and you can ask it to make you 5 questions or 20 questions from the reading. So you can do that. You can tell GPT to be an IELTS speaking examiner and to ask you questions and listen to you talk and give you feedback. If it has trouble, you can feed it the rubric. You can give it the rubric to help you grade. Maybe you can also give it an example so it knows what's good, what's not good, and then you can try it yourself. And I've read some papers that says it does okay with that actually, but then it probably will be okay if you don't have another person to practice with. Which is a lot of people are using it for that reason. A lot of students are using AI the way you would use a teacher or a tutor to help you practice for, essays or to get feedback for your writing or your speaking. So yeah, it can be quite useful if you use it the right way.
Mhm.
Don't
Mhm.
trust it blindly. Make sure you do it right and you have to prompt it right. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I think just, in the magic school, if I'm not mistaken, you also showed,
Hmm.
some of the features like, AI detector and plagiarism. Yes.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
yeah, and to what extent, like, I mean, the teachers can use both of these stuffs, and also just, the students can use both of these stuffs to make sure, like, the maybe the piece of work that they are going to do it. So how to use these tools to make it sure that, some personalization of this piece remains there.
Those are not accurate at all. So AI, so like for if you look at Quillbot or Grammarly or anything like that, if they any kind of AI checker, a lot of times they'll say that they're not very accurate.
Mhm.
So Quillbot has one where you can check for AI, and it says at the bottom of the screen, "Don't trust us. Don't judge any final judgment based on us. We're not 100% accurate." So now it's the point now where AI will try to trick AI to thinking that it's not AI. It's weird. So those are not that accurate.
Mhm.
In terms of plagiarism, you can try and go for it, but still I wouldn't trust AI as much as something as Turnitin, which is like what a lot of universities in the West use. But then that's also kind of an AI, but I would trust Turnitin. I also see there's also a question from Takmina. Using AI, so if you use AI to cheat, to help you write a paper. Is that considered as collaboration or plagiarism? So it would be what's called AI-jurism. So there's some papers about AI-jurism. Is you laugh, but there's a term for it actually, which is pretty much where you just copy from AI, and AI says this, and you just get your essay from that. So you're copying from AI because technically AI doesn't make anything fresh. Everything from AI comes from somewhere else. And so then you can have something copied from AI that's cited in some other journal, some other article, some other book, but the AI has not cited it themselves. But still, you get in trouble because you used AI. Um, yeah, lots of fun stuff. Yeah,
Okay, all right. And I think, like, we can discuss about this topic for hours.
yeah,
And yes, because, like, as we, discuss further, they will just appear some more, like, um, viewpoints about this from different countries, from different perspectives, and also just, yeah, from those teachers who are using this, and from those, like, who don't use it, because even through the comments I read here, I can understand that, some teachers didn't use it up to now. Yes. And
yeah,
then also just, yeah, maybe just, the curiosity point, like, should I use it? I'm just, yeah, people saying so many not good stuff about using AI. So it's better not to use it. Like, yeah. So anyway, I think the discussion is still open and will remain open in
yeah.
the coming years at least. And yes, we welcome more webinars about this topic. Mitchell, thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
please go ahead if you want to say something.
Oh no, I'm just agreeing with you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, dear all,
Okay.
for your great, yes, and active participation. I really liked all the questions and comments you put in the comment box. This is really great. And of course, yeah, everybody's, yeah, questions. We try to do our best to address those questions. So, yeah, the question is still open. will remain open, and as we discussed, and we'll keep it the discussion ongoing in our future webinars. Thank you so much, dear all, and wishing all of you to have a great evening. Thank you so much, Mitchell, and of course, Fernanda. Thank you for joining from Brazil. Yeah, we really appreciate your input as well. Thank you. Have a great evening, and see you in other EWB activities. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
See you guys.